So over the past 6 months, I've lost about 40 pounds of body fat. I've been feeling really good, but I slipped up massively over the past week. See, I was away with the family and I literally ate everything and I went back to my old really bad habits. So it's Dr. Derek here. I want to share a bit more about this video about what I'm actually doing to move forward after failing massively on my diet over the past week. So this is a slightly different video than the usual, but I thought some of you find it really helpful because it's not always the easiest to stick to something for a long time, and when you sometimes fall short, you can be very hard on yourself. So I thought slightly different video just to actually go over what I'm doing to get over my setback, to see if that helps you as well. So the first thing I'm doing, basically, I'm just going to make sure that I'm not overcomplicating it. So don't overcomplicate it. Now, the reason I mentioned this is really just keeping it simple. There's no extremes. So when you've been in a consistent calorie deficit over several months, like what I was, just having a bit of a blip, there's no point really doing extremes after you have a setback, because you're just punishing yourself for no reason. So I really want to base this first point on the psychological principle of fog behavior, the fog behavior model. And this is what I kind of learned, and I kind of go through and I use it to really match what I'm doing and my habits. So the model goes like this: your motivation and your ability or habits plus your triggers. Now these actually all combine and determine whether we act or not. So in my particular case, I've been off my diet and my routine for a week, so my motivation is low. But because I've set these habits and these routines over so many months, those routines are still there. So although my motivation is a bit low at the moment, I still got my habits, and I've still got those triggers. So at the end of the day, I'm still going to be making the progress, because when you work on something consistently for several months, just having a small blip doesn't really affect you in that way. So don't beat yourself up in that. And it matters because you can't be punishing yourself after a setback. It just makes things worse. Now, the second thing I've really gone through now, and the second lesson I learned from this, is really the importance of routine and structure. So I found this myself actually when I was away, that when you are in a period of time where you're really consistent, you're really motivated, you've got a schedule in place with your weight loss, where you come off that, it's not just getting out of the routine with your weight loss. The actual structure and the routine, that has an impact on other things like your mental health, your energy, how you're like around your family. So I was able to reflect, actually, the having that week where I wasn't at my best, I was able to reflect and realize that that's actually really good, that having the structure, missing that structure, just made me realize that having that in place is not just about the body or how I look, but it permeates and affects how you behave at work and all that kind of stuff. So this whole weight loss and fat loss journey is a lot deeper than just how you look. And I want to also link this back to the fog behavior model that I spoke about before. And it just basically, alongside that model, talks about how important routine and structure are, because they just keep you grounded. So you can look at it like a house. I'm going to try and draw a house now. Don't laugh at my don't laugh at my bad drawing. Think about it like a house, okay? And basically, you want a house with a solid foundation, because life can throw a lot at you. Sometimes, you might be unwell, there's always things to do, your kids might be ill. But when you set a solid foundation, a solid structure of routines, that is the blocker which you're building to actually reach your future goals. So I'll talk about it a bit later on, but it's more about your discipline rather than motivation. Because if you only really kind of lean on motivation, things will get rough and it gets tougher as life gets tougher, invariably. So what's the third thing I'm doing, or the third thing that the setback has taught me that I think you find helpful? Well, I found out how important it is to actually correctly balance your foods. And I'll go into this a bit more detail. So whilst I was away, I was literally just eating what I used to eat. I was eating like pizzas, burgers. I was eating the fast food stuff that, you're used to eating. But what I found is that I was just constantly hungry. I was hungry all the time, despite the actual calories I was eating was so much more than what I'd eaten in several months. And this point, really about balancing your foods being so important, is because when you don't get enough protein in your diet, you're not feeling full, you're not feeling satisfied. So although for about 6 months I've been in a calorie deficit, quite a heavy calorie deficit, because my meals have been balanced in a sort of way where I've got adequate protein and the balance between my protein, my carbs and fats has been really optimal. Because of that, even though I've had low calories, I've not felt as hungry. But then if you contrast it to the past week when I was just eating whatever was in my sight, I was really hungry. So it just made me realize that if you're really smart with your macronutrients, if you're smart with your meals, although the calories are low, you're going to be satisfied. And also, I didn't really miss all those unhealthy foods I was eating. So the setback, I know I talked about it being a setback at the beginning of the video, but it doesn't really feel that way because I've learned so much. So my fourth point is really, taking the positives, so life will always have learning points, even if you don't feel like certain things are, the right fit or, the right journey. But for me, there were so many positives that I had from this episode, this week where I completely fell off my diet, my workout routine. I had really precious time with my family where, I got to recharge, I got to recuperate. Because why do we try to get fit? For me, getting fit is so much more than just looking good. I want to get fit because I really want to be at a point where I'm there for my family. I've got the energy to play with my 2 little girls. It's a lot deeper than that. So having this blip made me realize what's actually important, why I'm on this fitness journey. And I realized that, look, I'm at a good place. I've worked really hard to get here. Like I said before, all that bad food I had, it wasn't actually that amazing. It didn't fill me up as fast. And I actually just didn't feel good after eating that. So that was really important for me. And I think it's good when you're deep in a fat loss diet. And I'm losing fat for health reasons, really. It's not just to look good. So when you're deep in this fat loss phase, that's really important, where you realize why you're doing it. So that's what the blip and the setback has done for me. And it's allowed me to actually realize that, look, I can push harder. And when I talk about pushing harder, because I had this setback, I know that maybe I've got a bit of bloat. I mean, I've put on a bit of, body fat, not too much. But I know, that when I eventually increase my calories back up through a reverse diet, and I can go into a reverse diet in a bit more detail in future episodes. But when I go back into, slowly increase my calories back to what they were at the beginning of my fat loss phase, when I eventually do this, I will put on some body fat. So I realized that in order to try and get myself looking really good at that stage, I need to even push harder now. Although I've lost a lot of body fat, I know that I need to even lose more over the next couple of months. Because in doing that, when I eventually reverse diet back to my previous calories at the beginning of the diet, when I put on some fat, I'll still look really good. So that's the big kind of takeaway I've taken from this. And I want to talk about the psychological principle. There's an author called Kristen Neff. I definitely want you to have a look at her. But she talks a lot about self-compassion. Let me just try to write self-compassion, okay? And this is what, whenever you have a setback, I know we've talked mostly about fitness, body fat, weight loss, but in anything in life, look, when you have a setback, when you treat yourself with kindness after the setback rather than being harsh, you recover much quicker and you also keep that positive mindset, okay? So the main reflection from this is that, look, life is all about balance. So when it comes to achieving a really big life goal, like what I'm doing, the amount of fat I've lost, I've literally shaved more than a decade off my, life in terms of life expectancy. So this is a big goal. If you're trying to achieve a big goal, you've got to persevere because, things when it comes to fat loss, they'll never be like this. You're never gonna, start on day 1 and go on to, let's say, like day 100, and then every day in between, it just be a perfect drop in your body fat. It just doesn't happen that way. Things are a lot more, choppy than that. So you have good weeks, you have bad weeks, you have good weeks, you have bad weeks, good weeks, bad weeks, but it'll all trend down. And so you've got to persevere through that, persevere through the blips, take the learnings from each setback and just try and do better. So that's what I've learnt, that although, things might not be, smooth, that's life. Nothing's ever smooth. It's about, picking yourself back up, taking the lessons and getting motivated from that. Use the setbacks as your motivation to push harder, which is how I'm approaching this kind of post really bad week that I've had as well. And the last thing I want to mention is really, I think number 6 is just realizing, how far you have come. Okay. And sometimes you just have to sit back. It's like looking back at a long road you've traveled. You can see how far you've walked. You can see how much ground that you've covered, even if the road ahead still seems long. So that's something I really want to drill down. When you do have a setback, at the end of the day, look at where you've come from. Look at the lessons that you've learned. Look at the person that you become. And take that inspiration, okay, and move further. Basically just move on from things. Take the learnings and move on from it. And this principle is really powerful, the powerful principle of the law of consistency. And it takes you back to what I said at the beginning of the video, because once you've made a commitment to something, it's a lot easier to keep going because you're motivated by the consistency you've already established, at the start. So when you have several habits that you do, little habits that you do bit by bit, every day over a long period of time, you built that in. It's already part of your psyche. You don't even think about doing it. So, the regular step count that I do, my calories, my, gym workout, all of these things are baked in. They're kind of part of who I am. And so the motivation is become more like a discipline because I've already established the consistency. So it's a lot easier. So just when you think about how far you've come, it helps you weather, these times really. So I think it's easy to get lost in the next goal, but we really should celebrate how much we've already achieved. So I think in just summary of what I've talked about, it's a slightly different video than usual, but I thought I'd just sit down, have a heart to heart with you because I've done a lot of videos on, on kind of fat loss for health and weight loss, and I've had, my journey. So I think it's probably worth opening up a bit more, being a bit honest when I've had a setback, because there's a few things I've learned that I think will help you. So these are the 6 things that I'm doing to get back on track. And what I'm glad for moving forward is because, I've built a solid consistency with habits over time, and that helps you, navigate any challenges as well. Also, I've got an accountability system, which I'm grateful for. I've got a network around me, people that are, really cheering for me. I've got family that cheering for me because, my health wasn't in the best place before. and now it's looking much better. The people that care about me want me to keep going. So it's really hard. It's really good, sorry, to surround yourself with that as well. So yeah, just be encouraged. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just get back on the path. Don't punish yourself. And yeah, let me know in the comments, what's helped you to get back on track after you've had a setback. And yeah, let's keep supporting each other and growing together. Now, as always, I truly care about your health, and I wish you the very best.